My bestie turned out to be my biggest hater and called me fat at my birthday party. Disclaimer, this is not my story. It was sent to me by a follower. So as my life was getting much better, hers was crumbling. So even though I was celebrating my birthday throughout the month, I knew that she was having a hard time. Now another friend decided to take me out to brunch with 3 of her friends. But because I knew my bestie was having such a hard time, I decided to take her to brunch. And at the brunch, all she did was complain about her life. And she kept saying things like, at least you have a job. You're so lucky to have a new boyfriend. Your family loves you so much. Look at all your friends and how they celebrate your birthday. And she wasn't lying. I didn't really know how to respond to her. She ended up getting extremely drunk at the brunch. And of course, I paid for everything. I drove her home, helped her change into pajamas. I decided to stay with her the entire night. We slept on the couch and I just scratched her hair all night. The next morning, she wakes up and asks me. She asked me why I was such a good friend to her. She asked in such a way, it made me think she was actually angry. Then she told me she wanted to be alone and that I needed to leave her apartment, which I did. I just had such a weird feeling when I left. Everything after that got so much worse. Part 3 is up. It turns out my bestie was my biggest hater and called me fat at my birthday party in front of everybody. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me by a follower. After she got drunk, she told me to leave her apartment and I did. I had such a bad feeling in my stomach. You know what the bad feeling was? As soon as I get home, I see a message from her saying, "How dare you let me get drunk?" All I replied was, "I'm so sorry. I asked you to stop drinking and that's why I took you home myself." She did not text me back. You know what this does to my anxiety? Yacht party was that day. I got a makeup artist come to my house. I got my hair done. Boyfriend came and picked up my parents and me. And when we got to the dock, a bunch of my friends were already on the yacht. It was decked out in different decorations. My friends brought me cakes, flowers, and so many gifts. My bestie was already there too. I start saying hi to everybody. Music is already playing. That's when my bestie comes up to me and in front of everybody, she calls me the worst best friend ever. She said, "You're so extra that bikini doesn't even fit you. You looked at yourself in the mirror lately." I was shocked. So was everybody else. Immediately, one of my other friends grabbed her and took her away. I went to talk to her and then she confessed that she hated me. Immediately left and I haven't spoken to her since. But you know what? My yacht party was amazing. My boyfriend blocked me after I told him he got me pregnant. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sent to me by a follower. I'm currently 5 months along. Did I want this to happen? No. I'm gonna sound evil for a second, but this is all my mom's fault. I met James when I was 16. He was about to turn 18 when we met. This boy would not leave me alone. He would follow me everywhere. Would be hanging out with my friends and I would tell him where I was. He would show up within minutes. He was always around. He would text me all day. He'd call me every single hour. At this time, I was graduating from high school. He showed up to my high school graduation. This is when my mom almost kicked my ass. He was 18 at this point and we had already been doing stuff. He showed up with roses to my graduation. My mom said that no man does this unless he's had the cookie. Because I didn't deny it, she drew her own conclusions. Well, guess what happened? My mom took my phone and my computer away. I was not allowed to leave my house unless I was going to work, which meant James started sneaking into my room at night. By the grace of God, my mom did not catch us. James became even more obsessive. Even if I locked my window, he would still knock on it until I opened. Babe, part 2 is up. My boyfriend blocked me after he got me pregnant. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sent to me by a follower. Part 2. Because my mom stopped us from seeing each other, he was sneaking into my room every single night. Even if I didn't want him to, he would still knock on the window until I let him in. I didn't want my mom to catch us. He would knock so loud on that damn window. And obviously we kept doing things. Sometimes I didn't want to, but he would tell me like, "Oh, you don't love me if you don't do it." I know now that that is coercion and it is not right. After 2 months of us sneaking around like this, I did not get my period. I knew right away something was wrong because I felt weird. I snuck out of my house to go get a pregnancy test. It was positive. This is when things got super serious. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to tell my mom. She did not freak out. It was the opposite. She was so supportive. When I texted him, he blocked me immediately. My mom and I went straight to his house, and upon confronting his parents, his dad pulled out his belt and whooped his ass right in front of us. Anyway, his parents are helping my mom pay for everything, and I'm still going to college. My mom and I are gonna raise this baby. I don't need a man for that, and neither do you. Bye.
Storytime about how I paid off my husband's debt and then he confessed that he had an affair with my sister. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. And if you want longer, spicier story time, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. And it's totally free. Link in bio. As he's crying like a baby, he confesses that he had an affair with my sister. He says it only happened once while I was away on a business trip. This is what he said happened. Years ago, my parents were getting their house renovated, so my parents and my sister came to stay at our apartment. During that time, I had a very important business trip. I was only gone for 3 nights. He says my parents went out to dinner, so him and my sister stayed alone in the apartment. And before he knew it, my sister threw herself on him. And he just couldn't say no because he felt bad about rejecting her. You heard that right, that was his excuse. I immediately call my sister up and she answers the phone. And when I ask her about it, she starts crying and tells me right then and there that they had been having an affair for 2 months. So no, it wasn't just a one-night thing. Apparently they both felt really bad about it though, but not bad enough to stop after one night. So I kicked him out. Because he has no money, he went back to live with his parents. I told my parents about my sister and they stopped paying for her tuition. So guess what? She had to get a job to pay for school. Okay, this is the part where you're gonna think I'm so stupid. I actually don't know if I should divorce my husband. I'm afraid he's gonna try to take all my money. And also, I still kind of love him. That's stupid, right? Self-care.
My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I don't trust her one bit. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sending me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year. When I met him, he already had a very big group of best friends. One of them was this girl. There's actually another girl in the group, but my boyfriend and this particular girl, let's call her Lacey. Lacey is completely obsessed with my boyfriend. I tell him all the time, but he doesn't want to listen to me. She goes out of her way to spend time with him, and she'll do girlfriend things for him. Sometimes she'll call him and say, I cooked us dinner, come over to my apartment. She even goes to his apartment and helps him do laundry. Let me go back though. When we started dating, he asked me not to be uncomfortable and that him and her were only good friends. But as soon as I saw them with each other, it was visible that she was in love with him. When he first brought me around to meet his friends, she was super territorial. She would sit next to him and even sat on his lap in front of me. And this made my boyfriend uncomfortable. He asked her to sit on a chair instead of his lap. After that, I asked him if he had feelings for her and he said no. He said he's only ever seen her as a sister, that the thought of hooking up with her makes him want to vomit. Lacey reached out to me and asked me to have lunch with her. Throughout the whole lunch, all she talked about was my boyfriend, how amazing he is, and how only a good girl deserves him. Part 2 is up. My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I don't trust her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I was sending me on Instagram. And her and I went to lunch. All she talked about was my boyfriend. That's when she started saying things like, he only deserves a really good girl. That's when I was straight up with her. I told her that he had already chosen me because he loved me and that I didn't need her to tell me what my boyfriend needed. You guys should have seen the look on this girl's face. She was shocked that I would defend myself and even talk back to her. Then she said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I told her that I didn't feel bad and that I knew what she was doing. She was basically trying to intimidate me and make me feel that I wasn't good enough for my boyfriend. She denied it and started apologizing. But at least I made it clear to her that I was not stupid and that she was not going to walk all over me like she probably did with all of his exes. By the way, one of his past girlfriends actually broke up with her because of this girl. I mean, Lacey. Found this out through one of the other friends. They told me that I needed to be careful with her. That's why I was prepared to go to lunch with her. Guess what happened though? I called my boyfriend to say hi to him and that's when he starts yelling at me. He said Lacey called him to tell him that I had attacked her at lunch, that I basically threatened her. I explained to him what happened from my point of view, and he said that she was probably just overreacting. But it was her word against mine. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I do not trust her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sending me on Instagram. After Lacey told my boyfriend that I had attacked her and threatened her, he told me to keep my distance. So I did. But that meant that he would hang out with her without me. I found this completely unacceptable. That's when I told my boyfriend that she was manipulative, that she had clearly planned everything out so that he and her could be alone. Then I told him that his ex-girlfriend left him because of her. He told me that I didn't know the full story and that I should mind my own business. That's when I noticed that he wouldn't come over to my apartment every day. And guess why? His best friend Lacey told him that she had a stalker and that she needed my boyfriend to stay over her house so that she could feel protected and safe. I just can't. I told him that she was clearly manipulating him and probably lying about the stalker situation so that he could spend more time with her. And just like that, 2 days later, he told me that they were moving in together and that she miraculously found an apartment big enough for the two of them. In 2 days? I don't think so. I think she had been planning this the whole time. And my boyfriend is just stupid enough to fall for it. I told him if he moved in with her that he should just forget about me. He begged me not to leave him, so I guess I'm still his girlfriend. He's still debating whether or not to move in with her. He says he doesn't want to lose me, but he wants to be able to be there for her. I think I should break up with him, but maybe there's another solution. What do you guys think I should do? Story time about how my grandma got married when she was 14 years old. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sending me on Instagram. So just picture it. I'm sitting with my 94-year-old grandma in the kitchen. And suddenly she starts talking about my grandpa. My grandpa passed away almost 10 years ago. And to be fair, they did have a wonderful marriage. By all accounts, and by all of my family's accounts, they were totally in love until the moment he took his last breath. Here's how the story goes. The first time they met, she was 12 years old. He had just gotten back from the war. She was walking home from school with her backpack, and my 27-year-old grandpa pulls up in his car. He starts to tell her that she's going to be his future wife, and that he's going to talk to her parents so that they can get married. Kept inviting her into his car, but she kept saying no. He followed her home from school every single day. As my grandma is telling the story, everyone is laughing except for me. Finally, one day he followed her to her house, knocked on the door, and requested to speak to my great-grandfather. They spoke for an hour, and that's when my great-grandpa promised my grandma to my grandpa, and he gave them permission to get married when she was 14. At first, he wanted them to get to know each other, so they started going on dates. Part 2 is up. Story time about how my grandma married my grandpa when she was 14. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's on Instagram. And if you want longer story times, go to my YouTube. This is when my great-grandfather promised my 12-year-old grandma to my 27-year-old grandfather. My great-grandpa thought that it would be best they wait 2 years so that they can get married when she's 14. In the meantime, he suggested that they start going out on dates. Yes, a 12-year-old girl and a 27-year-old man. By the way, as my grandma is telling this story, all of my cousins are laughing at this. I'm trembling in my seat. She explained to us that for those 2 years, my grandfather was on his best behavior, and that essentially they read books together, they walked together by the lake, and he would take her out to see movies. She said at the time it was a big deal. Going to the movies was like a big treat. I guess it made me feel better knowing that he didn't try to do anything to her at the time. Still, it's absolutely disgusting. Finally, the 2 years passed, and at this point, they're totally in love. They get married. Both their families attended this wedding. How did no one in their families think it was inappropriate? Watching a 14-year-old get married to a 29-year-old man? But it gets worse. Part 3 is up. Storytime about how my grandma married my grandpa when she was 14 years old and he was 29. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's on Instagram. This is the third and last part. And if you want longer story times, go to my YouTube. 2 years pass and they get married. My grandma even told us that the night of their wedding, my great-grandparents gifted them a night at a hotel so that they could have some privacy. You can imagine what happened. My grandmother described it as the most liberating night of her life. 2 months later, she was pregnant. Their first baby was born right before she turned 15, and then she got pregnant again at 15, and then at 17, and then at 18, 19, and finally 20. My grandfather got into oil in his late 20s. He made about $1 million by the time he was 35, so he was able to give them a very comfortable life. He purchased a manor. They had 3 housekeepers, 1 butler, and 4 nannies, and they had a really happy life. My grandma says my grandpa was always affectionate with her, and she said they blessed their bed every single night. After she finishes telling the story, all of my cousins laugh and think it's cute. I was disturbed. I asked her why it was okay to get married at such a young age. And then I said, would you have wanted me to get married when I was 14? That's when she said that times were just different back then. The war was happening, and people didn't know if they would live or die. She also said that when a catch like my grandfather turned up, most parents were looking for a man like my grandfather to marry off their daughters. Grandpa was educated, handsome, driven, had great work ethic, and he took care of her, which is what he promised my great-grandpa. And then when the children came, he more than took care of them. He even took care of my great-grandparents too. He ended up moving them into the manor in their old age, and they were fully taken care of by the staff. Apparently, the manor was big enough to fit in 4 families. Now, I loved my grandfather. He was a great, kind man, and I myself benefited off the generational wealth. He paid for my education, and I'm now a lawyer for it. But still, a huge part of me feels absolutely disgusted with the history of their love. Even though back then that might have been normal, I think it's horrendous. Yes, they had a great love story, but she was a child. Apparently, this was a big family secret. None of the uncles or my parents wanted us to know. I got into a huge argument with my parents for hiding this from me. They think I'm totally overreacting. Am I, though? I guess I'll need more therapy. What do you think? Story time about how I found out my husband was hooking up with men off of Craigslist. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's on Instagram. My husband and I have been married for 5 years. This man is the most prudish person I have ever met in my entire life. He never curses. He does not drink. Basically, he's never done anything naughty in his life. When we met, he was the perfect candidate for me. My parents are very religious and very strict. When they saw the way my husband was, basically super uptight, never wanting to do anything fun, they insisted that I marry him. So basically, this is all my parents' fault. To be honest with you guys, I never really was super attracted to him, but I knew that he would be a good provider. He's pretty high up in the company he works for, and he makes north of $300,000 per year. But I do own 2 of my own businesses, so it's not like I need him to survive. But my parents insisted on me marrying somebody who was already well off. And of course, one of my dreams is to become a mother, so I need a man who's going to be able to provide for me and my kids, especially when I'm pregnant. So we ended up getting married. Was there passion and chemistry? Not so much. But we did have a good time, and he would make me laugh. We essentially became really good friends. Up until I found some stuff on his laptop. Part 2 is part 2 of how I found out my husband was hooking up with men off of Craigslist. Disclaimer is not my story time. It's me on Instagram. One day while I was working from home, I needed to get on his laptop to check our cameras. I just gotten a new set of security cameras for our house. I needed to make sure that they were all working. I opened his laptop, typed in the password, and it was wrong. It always had the same password for the past 5 years. I didn't bother texting him. Instead, I tried to guess. And because I know this man so well, I guessed it in the first try. But as soon as I log in, there's about 5 Craigslist windows open, all with similar titles. Male looking for male. Male interested in male company. This literally shook me to my core. You're telling me that I'm married to a gay man and that he's hooking up with men off of Craigslist? That's when I went ahead and checked his email, only to find that he had been sending pictures and other things to these men. Not only that, but he had met with 2 of them. I instantly printed out all the evidence. Like I said in part 1, I'm not particularly attracted to my husband. I never have been. I really only married him because my parents pressured me into it. Here's what I did. Instead of just asking for a divorce, I wanted to humiliate him. I needed to make him pay. After printing everything out, I sent it to his job. And I sent it to his parents and my parents. Part 3 is up. That's when I sent videos of my own husband hooking up with other men to his job, my parents, and his parents. At this point, I had been married to a man that I wasn't attracted to for 5 years, only to find out that he was hooking up with other men off of Craigslist. Remember I said in part 1 how prudish my husband was? He always made himself seem like he was the perfect man, like he had never done anything bad in his life. But let me tell you, some of the things I read in those emails, and the pictures, and the video, disgusting. No wonder he put off having kids for so long, and no wonder he made me get on the pill, because he never had the intention of having kids. When everyone received their packages, my husband called me super upset. He said that he had only done it for about a week, and that it was just him experimenting. And he told me that his job put him on suspension. My parents, of course, stopped speaking to him. My mother-in-law calls me on the phone and tells me that she had always known that he was gay. And apparently they insisted on him not marrying me. But he was set on having the perfect wife. The perfect life. We're obviously getting a divorce now, and I'm getting all his money. Or at least I'm gonna try. He's already claiming that I'm obsessed with him, so he wants to get a restraining order. I need to make him suffer even more. How should I do this? Part 4 will be up soon. My husband signed up for my sister's OnlyFriends. Should I divorce him? Disclaimer, not my story time. Instead me on Instagram. My husband and I have a really toxic relationship. When he and I first started dating, I was extremely jealous. I would instigate fights almost every single day. Now that we're married, I'm definitely less jealous. But he's always been jealous throughout our relationship. He tries to control everything I do, down to the way I dress and even the people I can or cannot hang out with. He even insisted that I quit my job, which I did. He's invested a lot in Tesla and crypto, so he makes a lot of money without having to leave the house, which yes, is totally amazing. But that means he and I are together all the time. And with his jealousy, sometimes I just can't stand him. I've tried to help him with his jealousy because I used to be in that place. And when I try to talk to him about it, he just gets mad at me. Whenever he sees that I post something on Instagram, he gets angry. He says that I'm looking for attention, which of course I am, but not from guys. Everyone posts on social media because they want to show off their life. A little on my sister. We're identical twins. And we're really, really close. Unfortunately, my sister got laid off from her job last year. That's when she decided to start her OnlyFriends. I support her in everything she wants to do. She's actually making really good money from it, so she's really happy about it. A few days ago, I got on my husband's phone to look for something. When I see my sister's pictures, part 2 is up. My husband signed up for my sister's OnlyFriends. Should I divorce him? Disclaimers are not my story time. It's on Instagram. A few days ago, I got on my husband's phone to transfer some money from his account to mine. When I started looking for his banking app, I noticed something else on his screen. I had never seen this before, so I clicked on it. And as soon as I opened it, I see my sister's pictures. And I knew it was her OnlyFriends right away. By the way, I had never told my husband that my sister had an OnlyFriends. She wouldn't even post about it on her social media. So the fact that he found it makes me believe that he had my phone bugged or something. But here's the thing. He was using a different name for his account, so it was likely that my sister did not know it was him. From there, I could see that he was following a bunch of other girls. And when I went to their messages, he had paid over hundreds of dollars every single day to all of these girls. Can you imagine how much money that is? My husband came into the room and saw me on his phone. Of course, he didn't freak out because he never thought that I would find it, but I confronted him right away. But he didn't even flinch. He said he had every right to go on OnlyFans because it was the same thing as going to any website. I told him to at least unfollow my sister, and he said that he wouldn't. He said he loved it because it was like watching me do naughty things. Then he said, "Isn't this better than cheating on you?" I was flabbergasted. Part 3 is up. My husband signed up for my sister's OnlyFriends. Should I divorce him? Disclaimers is not my story time. It's on Instagram. That's when he told me that it was better than him cheating on me. And I was shocked. I couldn't think of anything else to say, so I threatened him. I told him that if he didn't stop following my sister, that I would start my own OnlyFriends account. Like I said, he's really jealous. So he went berserk. He ripped my phone out of my hand and threw it against the wall. Then he told me that the only reason he asked me to quit my job was so that I wouldn't be around other men. By the way, I used to be a personal trainer, and most of the time I would only train women. I told him that my sister and I wouldn't be comfortable with him looking at our OnlyFriends. It was so disturbing. Oh, and I also told him that he needed to stop controlling me, and that I could buy my own phone with my own money and start my own account. Then he came to his senses and started to apologize. And I also told him that I was suspecting that he bugged my phone and that he was receiving my messages because there was no other way he could have found out about my sister's account. Then he calmed down and explained things to me. He said that he had bugged my phone a few months ago because I was posting too much on Instagram and it was bothering him. So basically, he has access to my DMs and all my text messages. Promised to stop doing that and that he would buy me a new phone. And that's how he found out about my sister's OnlyFriends. He said he only signed up out of curiosity and that he only wanted to see a few pictures and then delete it. But the more he kept looking at her pictures, the more he would think of me and that it turned him on. And in front of me, he deactivated his account and deleted everything. He promised me that he would never do that again. Of course, I haven't forgiven him though. Haven't even spoken to him in days. But every time he sees me, he tries to kiss me and hug me. And when I push him away, he tries even harder. Honestly, I think he likes it. I do believe that he's secretly addicted to drama and that he thrives on it. I'm planning on never telling my sister about it. I don't think she'd feel comfortable around him ever again. I mean, I don't feel comfortable around him right now. I'm so confused and I don't know if I should leave him or not. He's so
My father-in-law is forcing my husband to break up with me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. This is a 3-part story time and I'm doing a full face of pink makeup today. My husband and I have been married for 2 years. Now, we did get married very, very young. By very young, I mean I was 18 and he was 19. When we started dating in high school, his dad was totally against the relationship. See, my husband was super popular. He played on the football team. All the girls chased him. He also played basketball and was perfect at everything he did. As you can imagine, was extremely strict with him. He was not even allowed to go out on weekends. Me, on the other hand, my parents are pretty much hippies. They let me do whatever I want. We're all very spiritual. My parents have full trust in me. Because of this, I make smart decisions. I actively seek my parents' advice. I even told my parents I lost my virginity when I did. And we had a big conversation about it. It was not dramatic. It was not like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. They just support me in everything I do. Now, my husband's parents are not the same. They tell him not to do a lot of things. They try to control him. So as we were dating in high school, his dad kept telling him to break up with me. He claimed that I was holding him back and that because of me, he spent less time training. Which technically, yes, is true. But at the same time, you cannot stop your son from experiencing human relationships. In fact, he actually broke up with me for 2 weeks. But then we got back together in secret. Everything culminated when he asked me to marry him right after graduation. His parents were absolutely against it. But my parents were all for it. You guessed it, go to part 2. My father-in-law wants my husband to break up with me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I was sending me on Instagram. This is a 3-part story time and I'm doing a full face of pink makeup. When he asked me to marry him right out of high school, his parents absolutely freaked. They went to my parents' house and told me off for saying yes. In other words, they were completely blaming me for the whole thing. As if their own son didn't go buy a ring and ask me to marry him. He even did a beautiful proposal, which he had been planning for months. But at this point, his parents didn't even know that we were boyfriend and girlfriend. When they came to my house, his mom, my now mother-in-law, started crying and yelling at me. She told me that I was ruining their family, that I was trying to steal her son, and that all I really cared about was their money. By the way, my parents were middle class, but we were not destitute. His parents are very rich. They own several businesses. But of course, I'm not after their money. That's when they said that if we did end up getting married, I would have to sign a prenup. And I said, yeah, I want to marry him because I'm in love. At this point, his parents knew they couldn't stop us. We were going to get married with or without their approval. But thankfully, his parents came around and let us get married. We had a quaint, small wedding. It was so magical. But his parents wanted him to go to college to play football. In other words, they wanted him to be the next Tom Brady. They made him train for hours, and they didn't even let us live together for the first year we were married. And because they were supporting him, he couldn't say no. They had us on a schedule. Could only see him for about 2 to 3 hours a day. And we were married. 2 years later, he's playing for a football team. But his parents keep thinking that I'm dragging him down. So now they're trying to convince him to leave me. Go to part 3. My father-in-law is trying to convince my husband to divorce me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, and this is the final part of the 3-part story time. I'm doing a full face of pink makeup. After a year of us being married, his parents did not allow us to live together because he needed to focus on football. So obviously, I was living with my parents. I was focusing on my own studies, but his parents did allow us to see each other 2 to 3 hours a day. Now, you might think my husband is a total pushover, but let me explain something. His parents paid for all of his training and his entire college tuition. They gave him the best of everything. He got sports massages every single day. They even installed a cold plunge in their backyard. They also had a full gym setup where he and his teammates would go work out every single day. In their house. Obviously, he did not have time for little old me. After a year of this, I couldn't take anymore. I wanted to be with my husband. So I gave him an ultimatum. That he tell his parents that he and I wanted to live together. That's all I wanted. I was even willing to pay for half of the rent. And he told his parents, they said fine. And they bought us a house. Obviously under my husband's name, not mine. Fast forward another year up until now. I've heard his dad tell him on several occasions that he needs to divorce me. That he could find a much prettier wife once he becomes bigger in the NFL. And I walked in on his mom telling him that maybe I can't even have kids. And that he should have me checked. My parents-in-law hate me. I sometimes feel like I am holding him back. They make us miserable. My parents think I should just walk away from the marriage, but I'm too in love. Should I confront my parents-in-law? Help me think of what I should say to them. Bye. I caught my dad cheating with my best friend and he doesn't want me to tell my mom. Disclaimer, is not my story time, was sent me on Instagram. My dad and I have never gotten along. He's the type of dad that whenever I bring my friends over, he's literally always flirting with them. He'll make sure to be home when he knows my friends are coming. He's really into bodybuilding, so he's pretty fit. So he'll just walk out shirtless into the kitchen while my friends and I are having lunch. I'm constantly telling him to cover up because it's totally embarrassing. 2 weeks ago, I noticed something weird. My best friend was drinking a Starbucks in the kitchen, and when I came into the kitchen, I saw her and my dad quickly let go of their hands. Like they were holding hands. Of course, they played it off and I didn't say anything. Our backyard has a pool house and that's usually where my dad hangs out. By the way, my mom is an amazing woman. She owns a Pilates studio and basically pays for everything. Go to the pool house and that's when I find my dad going down on my best friend. His head was up underneath her skirt. I literally vomited as soon as I saw it. Part 2, that's when I see my dad's head underneath my friend's skirt because he was going down on her. I actually vomited right then and there. As I'm vomiting outside of the pool house, my dad runs over to me and says, "What you saw is a mistake." And I say, "Of course it was a mistake because you're gonna go rectify this right now." I handed him my cell phone so that he could call my mom. He grabbed my cell phone and threw it into the pool. Then my best friend comes out like nothing happened. He looks at me and says, "Will you please just stop overreacting? It's not that big a deal." I grabbed her by her hair and threw her down on the floor. And then I just started attacking her. So angry at my dad, I was even angrier with her. How could she? My dad pulls me off of her and she starts confessing to everything. Apparently, they've been doing it for a month. Whenever she comes to hang out with me, she'll stay in the pool house, hide in there for hours, and wait for my dad to come home. He was never my best friend. By the way, my best friend and I are both 22. My dad is 47. Here's the worst part. He swore me to secrecy and I agreed. Now they just make out in front of me. Part 3 is up. My dad will just start making out with my best friend in front of me. At this point, he doesn't care. Disclaimer, is not my story time, was sent me on Instagram. My mom has had a hard time. This would tear my mom apart. I told my dad that if he doesn't stop this, I'm gonna have to move out of the house. This really woke him up though. He told my best friend that he couldn't keep seeing her. And now she's going crazy. She won't stop calling his cell phone or mine. She'll just show up to our house. Then I caught them doing it again. Of course I threatened to move out again. Don't know how to handle this situation. What should I do?
My new boyfriend's daughter kicked me out of their house because she said he'd ruin my life. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. God, I wish I had listened to her. Exactly 1 year ago, I met my now boyfriend, soon to be ex. He's a pilot, owns property, he also sells real estate. I was convinced this man was perfect. When we met, he told me that he had a 15-year-old daughter, that their relationship was perfect, that the divorce he had with her mom was amicable. They got along, that there was no bad blood between them. I asked him point blank if there was going to be any problems with his daughter and his ex with me. He said no. But when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I said yes. When I tell you everything was good for 6 months, it was more than good. It was perfect. He was the perfect man in every single way possible. He would take me and his daughter out for lunch, and it was all good. We did have a good relationship. And I even met his ex, who was the nicest and best mother I had ever met. And you're probably wondering, when did things go bad? He asked me to move into his beautiful house, which meant that I would spend a lot more time with his daughter, and she would spend a couple of weeks out of every month with him. And that's when I started noticing she was scared of him. She would flinch whenever he would come near her. And then the unthinkable happened. Part 2 is up. That's when I realized my boyfriend's daughter was terrified of him. Now that I was living with them, her and I would have really nice conversations anytime we were together in the kitchen. Anytime he would walk into the room or come home, she would get really quiet. If he would close a door, she would flinch. This kept happening. Remember I said he's a pilot? Sometimes he would go away for 2 to 3 days. The next time we were alone, I asked her what was going on. And that's when she told me that I needed to leave. Now he would ruin my life if I stayed any longer. Then she started to cry. What she said was so unexpected and so scary. I just hugged her, waited for her to calm down, and then I asked her to tell me why she said that. She told me that he controlled her entire life. That he wouldn't let her do anything. That she couldn't have friends, couldn't go out anywhere by herself. That he would eventually start to do the same thing to me because he did the same thing to her mom. I asked my boyfriend why he broke up with his ex. He told me that they just grew apart. This is when she told me that he would keep tabs on her, follow her, made her quit her job, which by the way, she was a doctor. Also that he could make sure that she was always home with their daughter. And that the only reason the divorce was amicable was because she didn't want to have to fight him in court. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend's daughter kicked me out of their house because she said that he would ruin my life. Claim this is not my story time, was sent me on Instagram. After telling me how controlling and abusive he had been to her and her mom, he told me that I needed to leave right now because he was waiting to ask me to marry him, that once we were married, he would start to control my life like he did theirs. She then said that she could see that I wasn't believing her, so she pulls out her phone and calls her mom. She starts saying the same things, that at one point she even had to get a restraining order against him, that the only reason she lets her daughter spend so much time with him is because she's afraid that he might want custody. My relationship with him was so perfect. Just couldn't believe them. And guess what? I'm glad I didn't. I did end up leaving the house. When my boyfriend came back from his work trip, he told me that they had done this to every other girlfriend he tried to have. That it was all a lie. Girl, I almost believed them. All this drama made me feel so bad. I actually broke up with him. He gave me space for a month, but now he wants me to get back with him. I don't want to deal with his daughter and his ex. What should